World Economic Forum, debating global strategies. In the interview, WEF Managing Director Philipp Rösler.
Mr. Rösler, at age 40, you're embarking on a new career, moving your family to Switzerland, taking on a management post at the World Economic Forum. What prompted you to do that?
The World Economic Forum is a unique platform that brings together many diverse sectors of society, economics, science, and of course everyday citizens. Representatives of all these different sectors can meet here in Davos and discuss pressing problems. It's far more than just talk. We look for solutions and for methods of cooperation in implementing those solutions.
Some say there's a lot of talk, but little in the way of substantive results. Do you see that as a problem?
That's simply not true. Discussions are wide-ranging and detailed, bringing in as many viewpoints as possible. And there are often concrete results. Agriculture is a perfect example. Many regions of the world face the dilemma of how to feed a rapidly growing population. There were discussions, problems were defined, but above and beyond that, participants pinpointed ways of increasing crop yields on a sustainable basis. We learned from the mistakes made back in the 1960s and 70s. The results have proved workable, benefiting the people most of all.
As former German economics minister, you implemented policy. That's no longer the case.
Well, it wasn't always easy to have my way as economics minister, but it's immensely important to stimulate debate. That's always the starting point. Bring people together, define problems, and work together to find solutions.
Looking back, what's the major difference between your post as economics minister and your current work at the WEF?
There are actually many parallels. Bilateral talks, for instance. I'm in charge of governmental relations in addition to my responsibilities for regional strategies. So I engage in talks with government ministers and world leaders. In that way, it resembles my own experience in government. This week alone, I have numerous bilateral talks on the agenda, many more than in my years as economics minister. But in that capacity, I also brought a great many differing players to the table.
But now it must be more about the big picture than the minute details.
It's much more international. I'm familiar with the problems of Germany and Europe, but it's fascinating to look at the challenges facing other regions. For instance, we're interested in the topic of demographic development. Germany and Japan view the consequences of an aging population completely differently than Latin America or Africa. These regions have young, dynamic, rapidly expanding populations. Differences like that are truly fascinating.
Did you miss that international element in Germany, the opportunity to think outside the box?
Germany is an export-oriented country that accounts for much of our economic success, and it's also the basis of our strong business climate. Our exports are in demand worldwide because of the products, the service, and the reputations of the companies themselves. So I would have enjoyed making a much more confident impression on the world stage. We should engage more in global policymaking.
Will you try to bring Germany more influence at the World Economic Forum? To press topics that impact Germany? The Anglo-Saxon influence still dominates here.
When I was a member of government, we were always trying to exert influence at the WEF. I traveled here twice as economics minister. German Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble is the go-to person regarding the Eurozone crisis, alongside Chancellor Merkel. We're proud of that. It's a distinction that sets us apart and allows us to press our own arguments and those of Europe as a whole. These are points of view that might not be so well known and understood in Anglo-American circles. In some cases, they see things completely differently. So I want to strengthen dialogue. It'll benefit other regions of the world just as much as Germany and Europe.
What are your priorities?
At the moment, energy policy is high on the agenda in Germany. And the more I listen, the more I believe that the debate over the future of energy will be one of the mega themes of 2014. The question is how much Germany can influence the debate. We've garnered a lot of experience since the decision in 2011 to abandon nuclear power.
So Germany appears to be a model for others when it comes to energy production.
As an economic factor, it's much too important to start experimenting with. I hope the German government isn't planning to do that. Just the opposite. It comes down to competition on the global market. That's why it's so important for all sectors of the economy. Others can learn from our mistakes, including over-subsidizing certain methods of production. But the experience and success we've had with networking different power sources, it all plays a role.
A lot of top financial titans attend the World Economic Forum every year. And there is always criticism that businesses and the bosses are only interested in short-term profits. Do you see that as a problem?
Every executive has to make those decisions based on their own leadership responsibilities. But this is another example of how Germany can lead the way. We have a very dynamic and strong mid-sized business climate. Smaller family-owned businesses tend to think more in the long term. It's about a lot more than just maximizing quarterly results. They're interested in leaving a legacy for the next generation. That's a part of Germany's substantial economic success, and something we can stress here. Nobody will wag their fingers and say, "You must do it our way." Rather, we can pass on our experience. Then every region, every nation can decide what to take away from it. I firmly believe that many can profit from this kind of sustainable cooperation.
When it comes to globalization, a major topic is the increasingly digitized economy. That's a topic that you've repeatedly stressed your interest in. What problems do you foresee, and what needs to be done? The virtual consumer, does that pose a problem?
It's more important to first define the opportunities before we tackle the problems. No part of the global economy can escape the digital future. It is, in fact, a major opportunity to strengthen economic competitiveness. Whether it's about automobiles, mechanical engineering, or broadcasting and television, there's an exploding market for new creative products, and this leads to new and creative companies. Startups are playing a major role. That trend has been around for a while. And it's something that is constantly being redefined. As economics minister, I strongly supported these young, dynamic startups, and I will continue that support here at the Economic Forum. I'd like to see link-ups between digital companies in Silicon Valley, Berlin, London, and Tel Aviv. That would strengthen all regions and economic sectors, not to mention the global economy as a whole.
Do you see a problem in data protection? It seems so uncontrolled. Should it be regulated?
This is where the World Economic Forum will show its true influence. I've described my vision from an a political economic point of view. From that standpoint, I can say we need new businesses with new products that strengthen the economy. But you're correct, the digital age has brought about new legal challenges. Massive amounts of data are generated and stored. What do we do with it all? Data protection, data security, these topics are even more important given the NSA scandal and related issues. Everyone is affected. I'm convinced that we need laws that reach beyond domestic or even European boundaries. We need agreements at the G20 level, at the very least. We must codify data protection and data security. I recognize this will be very difficult to push through politically.
Does Washington share your regulatory vision?
The problem has become much more prominent over the past few months, even in the U.S. People are seeing the importance of some kind of legislation on data protection and security. The terrorist attacks of 9/11 are still fresh in Americans' minds. But still, the most important thing is that we agreed to discuss the issue. Data protection and data security in an increasingly digitized world. We need to find solutions, and the Davos Summit will contribute to that dialogue.
Why do we even need global meetings of this kind? In the digital age, can't we simply exchange opinions online? What is a meeting like this good for? Will these global forums continue in the future? What are your views now that you're in upper management here?
People are people, and I mean that in the most positive sense. I'm convinced that we can make effective use of all forms of modern communication: fax, email, Facebook, Twitter, and all the rest. But personal face-to-face contact will always be decisive. You can look someone in the eye and decide whether he or she is trustworthy. Once you've done that, it's easier to pick up the telephone, write an email, send a text, or chat. Personal relations are still decisive. Digital media can improve communication, optimize it, make it more efficient. But it all starts with a personal exchange of views. That is what defines us as humans and makes life worth living.
At the end of your tenure as economics minister and FDP leader, you were under considerable pressure. Has a weight been lifted from your shoulders?
Pressure comes with the responsibility. You're still party leader, whether in good times or bad. Now I face different challenges, a leadership role in a foundation that doesn't come under the kind of public scrutiny that politicians are subject to. That's a nice part of this new period in my life.
Which regional issues will you concentrate on, pressing matters in your view?
My first role is to do a lot of listening, to get a feel for which topics are important in different regions. That's why we also organize regional conferences. The meeting in Davos is known around the world, but aside from that, we sponsor 4 or 5 regional meetings annually. That's where the listening comes in. But I'm positive the major topics will be energy, the digital future, and increasingly health.
Mr. Rösler, thank you.